Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. A white female nurse was arrested and charged with felony child abuse after a series of newborn children received broken bones and other injuries in a neonatal hospital.
Just over 3 miles from Henrico Doctors Hospital, a county judge held NICU nurse Erin Strotman without bond Friday. This after Henrico police charged her with felony child abuse and neglect and felony malicious wounding in connection with injuries a baby at the hospital sustained on November 10th of 2024. Now, during her arraignment, Strotman told the court she last worked at Henrico Doctors around Thanksgiving, but said she was still being paid. The hospital is calling her a former employee, but Strotman said she did not know she had been terminated.
This is an ongoing investigation spanning potential offenses committed in both 2023 and 2024.
Hospital officials say 3 babies were found with unexplained fractures in November and December of last year, and that is similar to incidents involving 4 other infants who were being treated at the same NICU in the summer of 2023. The hospital announced it was pausing admissions to the NICU right before Christmas.
This right now is one date of offense involving one child, but that is not precluding the fact that this investigation is ongoing and that we will continue to work on building cases if there is evidence present to build other cases to find if there's additional criminal culpability.
Family members of 3 of the 7 babies came to court Friday. They hugged and cried together as they met for the first time. Among them, Dominique Hackey. His son Noah suffered a fractured tibia while in the Henrico Doctors NICU in September of 2023. Child Protective Services founded Level 1 child abuse of Noah by an employee at the hospital, but CPS was not able to identify that employee. But according to CPS records obtained exclusively by CBS 6, Strotman was placed on paid administrative leave in 2023 after the hospital conducted an internal investigation into the initial 4 cases. At the time, she had worked at the NICU for approximately a year. She was not criminally charged at that time, and it's unclear when Strotman's suspension ended.
They failed. Strictly, they failed on multiple different levels with multiple different families, and they need to be held accountable as well, because that shouldn't have happened. If they were suspicious of some person enough to let them go, they shouldn't have brought them back. So that's on them. They failed. Simple.
Do you feel like the county failed, future babies that were in the NICU at that hospital?
When we talk about what happened back in 23 and in 24, we can look at it from a standpoint of not just the individual culpability, but if there was a systems failure.
So potentially there could be even criminal charges beyond just the person that committed the acts?
If there are individuals who need to be held accountable and we have the evidence to sustain that accountability, then we will pursue it.
HCA, which owns Henrico Doctors Hospital, sent us a lengthy statement which you can find in full on our website. It said in part, "We are both shocked and saddened by this development in the investigation and are focused on continuing to care for our patients and providing support to our colleagues who have been deeply and personally impacted by this investigation." HCA did not answer any of our questions about what happened with the internal investigation back in 2023 when Erin Strotman was placed on paid administrative leave at that time. In Henrico County, I'm Melissa Hippolyte for CBS 6.
Now, in this series of disturbing alleged incidents that took place at the neonatal intensive care unit at the Henrico Doctors Hospital in Virginia over the course of 2023 and 2024, there were a series of unexplained fractures that newborn babies received while they were at the hospital and receiving care before they were taken home. Now, according to reports, the hospital believes that a nurse that was working there, Erin Elizabeth Ann Stroman, was possibly the one responsible for the series of unexplained fractures that these babies received while they were in the care at the neonatal intensive care unit at the Henrico Doctors Hospital. And as a result, this former employee has been charged with 1 count of child neglect and 1 count of felony malicious wounding for an injury that one of these black male babies suffered on or about November 24, and may possibly be charged with more crimes if they can connect her with these allegations of participating in this series of unexplained fractures that these children have received. Now, the police in Virginia are seeing the alleged behavior of Erin Elizabeth Ann Stroman as an isolated incident. However, when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior that Erin Elizabeth Ann Stroman has been alleged to have participated in as related to the abuse that these newborn children have received, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for feminist indoctrinated women that I talk about in my book, The Woman Crisis. And the antisocial behavior that Erin Elizabeth Ann Stroman has been alleged to have participated in definitely fits a chapter of my book where I talk about crime and the woman crisis. And this crime against newborn children is one of the worst crimes I have ever heard about in my life, because it takes a special type of depraved indifference to human life for a nurse to participate in looking to willfully and intentionally do harm to children, especially black children. And I believe that the motivation for her looking to participate in these crimes has definitely something to do with race, because most of the children who wound up with these unexplained fractures were mostly black male children, and with it being a majority black males being the ones receiving these injuries, I have to wonder if that hate was a motivation for this series of crimes. And this series of crimes basically is a series that is quite troubling, because it's showing me again not only a depraved indifference to human life, but also a woman who was falling into a pattern of extremely antisocial behavior that I have only seen with beta males who basically wind up on the road to becoming serial killers. And it's quite troubling because, again, when it comes to a nurse, you would think a nurse would be somebody who will be looking to share love and care for children, especially newborn children who are extremely vulnerable because they are powerless and have no ability to defend themselves. However, in the case of this nurse, as related to these allegations, it's looking to me like she basically looked to pursue this career in nursing, not to give love and care to these children, but to be able to have power over these children. And this is where her behavior falls into the same pattern that beta males have, where they go on a quest for power, and as they go on this quest for power, they enter a place that I call the secret world. Now, when it comes to the beta males, again, they live double lives where they have their outside life that basically is a smooth place, but they enter a place I call the secret world. And in the secret world, this is where they want to participate in their natural masculinity. And this is where they start participating in exploring, again, antisocial behaviors, because they are disconnected and detached from people. And as they are disconnected and detached from people, they don't see people as people. No, they see people as objects. And as they see people as objects, they don't have regard for them as people, as needing to be cared for or respected at all. And that's what I believe happened here with Erin Elizabeth Ann Stroman as she entered into the career of nursing. This is a place where she possibly felt, as she was at this neonatal hospital, she could go out here and enter into the secret world. And as she entered into the secret world, she could go out here and participate in doing harm to black children, because as she was in the secret world, she basically saw these black children not as children who needed love and care, but saw them as objects that she could go out here and express her hatred for by participating in doing harm to those children, passive aggressively, in that passively she was working as a nurse at the hospital, but aggressively she was expressing her anger and hatred for those black children, those black male children, by looking to injure them with this series of unexplained fractures. This series of unexplained fractures are basically the result of this nurse expressing her hatred for having to care for black children, expressing her hatred for having to care for these black children, and going out here and showing her contempt for having to care for a black child by doing harm to that black child with this series of unexplained fractures and broken bones that are easy to explain when you understand where this woman was coming from as related to her place, as related to the secret world, because she thought she would be able to get away with this antisocial behavior under the cover of the hospital. However, what basically undid this woman was that as the hospital began to see this whole series of fractures and broken bones, they began to see that this was a pattern that took place over 2023, and then saw a pattern of it happening again in 2024. And as they started to connect the dots, they started going through their video, and as they went through their video, they basically started to see this pattern. They started to see this pattern as things were going on, and eventually they started to see who was on shift at that time. Now, Erin, Elizabeth, and Stroman wanted to wind up again, I think, quitting the hospital, but eventually they then again could find the pattern, and again found the pattern because they found again 3 children in 2024, and possibly, I believe, a series of children in 2023. And as they started to connect the dots, eventually they figured out who was working at the hospital at that time, and started to see this going on. And it basically again showed this whole pattern of antisocial behavior while this woman was on shift at the hospital. Saw this whole pattern of behavior as this woman was on shift at the hospital. And this whole pattern of behavior basically again shows the deep-seated hatred that some white female racists have for black people, and such hatred that they want to again do harm to a black child, because they wanted to again have power in this situation, have power over this child to the point where they say that they could be a god over this child and have power over their lives. And this is not the person you would want to be, again, nursing your children. No, you don't want this person nursing your children, because this series of antisocial behaviors this woman was alleged to have participated in, I can tell you from my years of research on doing the man crisis and the woman crisis, this behavior will eventually escalate, and this woman would go from looking to do harm to black babies to participating in a pattern of serial killing. And what's scary here is that this woman is basically being charged with very light charges as related to the heinous crime she's participated in. She's being charged with light charges as related to the heinous crime she's participated in. And if this was a black woman, she would possibly be charged with much more felonies. But because this woman has complexion for protection, this is why they're giving her light charges. Moreover, the media has basically downplayed this story as related to the severity of this crime, and I find that to be quite troubling, because it's clear to me that this is a case of a white supremacist white female who was looking to do harm to black children, because she didn't regard their lives, and thought that, she could go out here and take these children's lives because they didn't matter and do harm to their bodies. Again, she didn't care about them, and it's a quite troubling pattern when you consider the overall big picture of healthcare and black people. Now, when it comes to the healthcare system has not really been doing right by black people. I mean, as someone who's had family members go through this healthcare system, the healthcare system is not really an environment where black people are getting the care that allows them to be able to heal and recover. And what's even more troubling is children are coming out, again, newborn black babies coming into the hospital, and instead of there being an environment that provides them safety and care, they are basically being targeted not only by these dysfunctional individuals. I mean, it looks like there's a culture going on as related to these hospitals that basically has them focusing on looking to do harm to black people, and that's really troubling because many of these people, like these nurses, took a Hippocratic oath to preserve human life. I mean, this woman took a Hippocratic oath to preserve human life, but instead of looking to follow that oath, she looked to follow the principles of white supremacy and participate in what I believe to be anti-black racism by willfully and intentionally targeting black male babies. I find it interesting she only targeted black male babies out of all the babies. I mean, this is something that basically comes out of the Bible, where the Pharaoh was again looking to go out here and take the lives of babies in an effort to find the deliverer, and the same principle that Herod participated in when he tried to find Jesus and tried to stop the deliverer. And in this case, I don't know if what this woman was doing in looking to, again, participate in that kind of harm, but this is the kind of pattern of behavior that I found to be quite troubling, because this whole pattern of behavior in and of itself, it goes beyond malice of forethought. This is just pure evil in my eyes. Pure evil in my eyes. And what's really scary is that we have the race soldiers in law enforcement, and even scarier now that I have to wonder if we have race soldiers in the healthcare system. I have to wonder if there are race soldiers in the healthcare system looking to willfully and intentionally do harm to black people. After looking at this case, I have to wonder if there are a series of race soldiers, again, looking to not look to give people care that they said under the Hippocratic Oath, but looking to take the lives of black people, in our healthcare system. Because when I'm looking at our healthcare system, it's not really providing good care for foundational black Americans, and black people suffer the worst health care in this country at the hospitals we have in our neighborhoods. I mean, I just had 3 family members go through this healthcare system over the last decade, and it's sad that they could not really get any care because most of the nurses and the doctors there were totally indifferent to them. Some of them were downright nasty, and they did not really give you that calm bedside manner or that care that people used to get in the 70s, 80s, and part of the early 90s. No, what my family members received was just absolute hostility and an environment that wasn't about, again, giving the patients care, but giving the health care providers their profits, and these people not really having any regard for any sort of human life. And when it comes to these type of healthcare facilities, again, it's really troubling when you consider this is a place where you had newborn babies. Again, this is a place where newborn babies were supposed to be under the care, and instead of them receiving care as related to the first days of their life, what they experienced was possibly the first experience of racism and white supremacy. That's what's really, again, disturbing to me, that this child, as related to, again, their first moments in life, that they're not even aware of, that they're experiencing anti-black racism, possibly from this deeply just depraved, possibly white female nurse, a white female nurse who's fitting a pattern of antisocial behavior that I have been seeing emerging among white women. I mean, this pattern of antisocial behavior I started to see with the deviancy that white female teachers have been participating in with teenage boys, and now we have this incident of a white female nurse participating in, again, violence against a newborn child. And a lot of people sitting there thinking, oh, white women are sweet and innocent. That's what the mainstream media wants to present to us, but they don't want to look at the picture of evil here. I mean, when it comes to these white females, there's becoming, again, a growing trend that nobody wants to talk about. No, nobody wants to talk about in the mainstream media about these white females participating in these heinous crimes. No, they will go out here and bury these crimes, especially these crimes that basically, as I see it, possibly could be a hate crime if they can, again, figure out that this is a pattern against black male children. And this is something that many in the mainstream media, again, don't want to talk about as related to two reasons. One, they don't want to talk about it because it basically is a story that makes white women look bad. And two, they don't want to talk about it because it doesn't fit their overall narrative for white women being sweet and innocent. However, there's a pattern emerging about white women that shows them, again, becoming, again, more and more antisocial. And as women like this become more and more antisocial, they basically, as they are arrested and put on trial, they are going to go from being places like being nurses to winding up on the road to heading to the penitentiary with women like Betty, Martha, Big Lou, and Big Marcia, and being traded for the commissary. And this would be the place for these type of women. But what's more disturbing than what will go on in that prison as they're playing spades for Little Debbie snack cakes and ramen noodles? I don't want to get into that whole commissary list because this crime is so heinous. I mean, it takes a special kind of evil to do harm to a newborn baby. It takes a special kind of depravity to do harm to a newborn baby. It takes, again, just you have to be someone with the devil in you to that point, or a demon in and of yourself to harm a newborn baby. And again, I could never think of doing harm to a newborn baby, but this woman possibly has that idea. And if you've got that type of idea, you are more than a woman in crisis. This is just a sick person who, again, is basically been given a pass because of white privilege. And again, that's the scarier thing, that this woman, again, still has white privilege after participating in this type of possible evil crime. And that's the whole thing that, again, disturbs me as related to this woman crisis. Again, many people don't see how we have people out here who are clear and present dangers to everyone, and how they, again, just believe because they can get away with their crimes because they figure black children are less than white children. They can get away with this stuff and continue to have their smooth world. But the whole thing is just to do this to a human being. This is just, again, absolutely disgusting. And again, this whole situation is one that shows me how much worse things are getting in this country as related to the overall woman crisis in this country. Now, if you want to learn more about what is leading to so many women participating in these type of crimes and what is motivating them to participate in these type of crimes, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Woman Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me be able to make more videos about the woman crisis, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.